Hey there, welcome to episode 47 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo, recording today, Thursday, January 18th, 2024. It is mid-afternoon, some traffic outside if you can hear that. Today, we're going to be discussing the notion that we should bring back co-working. I spell co-working with a dash usually, although it can go either way, with or without co-working. The good times working with others. This is another solo episode, of course, although I do hope for 2024 that we can start bringing on some actual entrepreneurs in the greater Vegas area. Maybe we can see how they co-work, if they do. There is co-working in the greater Vegas area. I don't want to suggest that there is not. People still do the co-working thing. There are co-working spaces, multiple spaces, in fact. All throughout the valley. I have a link that I'll get to with a Google map to that effect. Certainly there are coffee shops and other casual venues, libraries, and plenty of free Wi-Fi. Yet we need more co-working in the greater Vegas area if we are going to enable our entrepreneurial ecosystem. Let's get to those links. Hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you are able to see the show description for this episode. It includes some links. First, I will read through them. I will highlight my own plugs for buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, DANHUGO, and Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo. I do not monetize these audio programs in general. If you find them entertaining, informative, useful, and you would like to literally buy me a coffee, go ahead. I do use the buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo profile to connect all of my various programming together, my audio programs, some other projects. I'm not a huge fan of the way the buymeacoffee.com website looks. I have no say in that, but it is a separate, what I call out-of-band way of summarizing what's up. And it just so happens if you would like to support my coffee habit, which powers these endeavors, you may. No pressure. So these are basically external vectors pointing back to me, connected to my various efforts. Next up, the co-work Google map, as I said earlier. So I searched literally for co-work with a dash, hyphen, one of those, hyphen, I guess. Co-work, 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 one of those. So there are several matches. You can see them if you click on the link, or you can just search for co-work, however you'd like to spell it. Centered somewhere in the greater Vegas area. There are many spaces. The infamous Work in Progress is now located almost literally down the street. Let me think. Yes, down the street from where I presently reside. I've walked by it many times. I even stopped in their building to take a peek, but it was after 5. What was I thinking? But Work in Progress is still going. There are several other co-work spaces, including WeWork, still open in, I believe, 2 or possibly 3 locations. I'm not looking at the map right now, but there are several, and those are great if you have the money to spend or if you can take advantage of a free slot, which we'll get into. I have linked to 2 Wikipedia pages as starting points if you're curious. Co-working, they leave the dash or hyphen out, so co-working. And then collaboration. Maybe you already know what collaboration is, but why not? Support your local Wikipedia. So co-working with money is where we shall begin. These co-work spaces that are on the Google map are essentially fractional office spaces, right? So you can rent a desk, a couple of desks, a cubicle style arrangement, multiple. You can rent private or hot desks. There's a variety of things. You can rent meeting rooms, make use of their facilities like coffee machines and fax machines. What is a fax machine? And a printer maybe, and some other things like maybe you have a mailing address there, maybe in some cases more of a executive suite style. You can have a phone answered, etc. So these are great because you are making money or you have funding. You want to have a common workspace. Maybe you meet with potential clients. Maybe your business is such that you are in different cities. So having a 100% office is not sensible. Maybe you converge in our innovation destination. I think I've talked about that before. And you want to meet with your colleagues, your coworkers, in a space where you can have some quiet, you can have some resources to use, printers, Wi-Fi, etc. And so these are sensible, and we have those here. They are in many places. There is a presumption that co-working is a commercial endeavor. That is, you do have money and you're renting space. You and your coworkers are paying for these things. You pay on an ad hoc basis, perhaps a day pass, as some will call it. Or maybe you are renting a desk, a particular desk, or maybe you have an actual private space with a locking door even that you can make use of now and then. You pay then by the month or by some terms. Flexible, fractional, when you're up and running, early days, but you probably have some money to spend on such things. And hopefully the value proposition is such that it's worth spending that money. Ideally, you are pursuing some goals, and having a co-work space at your disposal is a part of advancing that cause. The need, I totally messed that up. This need not be true, but things have changed. The work from home revolution pre-pandemic was not quite what it became during and now after, and the various controversies, but having a place where you can meet up is a component of a entrepreneurial endeavor. It could also be a place where you work for some employer, but you get away from your home if you are a remote employee, if you're able to work from home, etc. So you might hot desk it just so you can conduct business confidentially, perhaps, or maybe meeting in a public place at a catch as catch can, so to speak, desk or a table or bar seat. Coffee bars have those too. Although you could co-work in a bar or pub. That's been done. These are possibilities. And so usually there is an income or some sort of money, venture funding, bootstrap funding, angel funding, self-funding, some way of paying for these things that you will ultimately turn into some success later, some value proposition that works for you. So co-working, definitely available here in the greater Vegas area with these qualities, these attributes. Then there's co-working without money, pre-money. Let's be optimistic, pre-money. So this has been done for a long time. This was something I was doing in Silicon Valley when I lived there many years ago, 10 plus years ago. Something we could do in the Phoenix area when I was living there, etc. It's probably something you do in school if you ever get together with your friends to do homework. Is that still a thing? I don't know, homework. But we've all done it. Coffee shops, restaurants. I have met people in libraries. I've met people in restaurants, certainly coffee shops. I've worked on my own in these places. There may even be that free time slot at a WeWork or some other co-work space, the promotional, come in and give it a try sales pitch kind of thing, or maybe a sponsored co-work gathering. There are entities here in the greater Vegas area that will sponsor a co-work day. Those are interesting. You will often see the same people all the time. I don't know if that's valuable. That's something maybe we can bring up here in the episode today. You can sequester yourself to work alone. You can find a table with multiple chairs and maybe get your coworkers, literally coworkers, your startup or endeavor, the people you are working most closely with on your project. You can all sit together. Sometimes that is the goal. Sometimes you're working from home and you want to get together in person for a meetup, a gathering, a discussion, catching up, a synchronization meeting of some sort. So this is one way to go. You can do this for quote unquote free, the cost of a coffee or two. There's always a question about the value proposition to the venue owner. You can certainly go to a library and meet. If you don't want to take up a table at a coffee shop, you can sit in a coffee shop for hours. I've done that. Then you just keep pumping money into the coffee machine, and a person who I refer to as a coffee machine can make you another coffee or whatever. You can grab a snack, whatever the case is. So you're basically paying rent to be in this space. And again, hopefully valuable. We can also go to a co-working sort of hub. There are a few places around the greater Vegas area. If you have ever been out and about, you know that Vesta Coffee downtown tends to be a gathering place. Grouchy John's down in Henderson has a whole room, a whole side room that's, or back, depending on how you are viewing it, where people get together, bring their laptops and a power strip or something. I've been there, been to both of those places. There are various others, many. There is always the opportunity to steal a spot at the Innovation Center downtown and go to the Bad Owl next door, grab a coffee and chill for a couple of hours, get some stuff done, have a meeting with your buddies, use buddies of all kinds, and use a dry erase board if you need it, and so on. So there are a variety of opportunities to do the co-working, but then who do you run into at these places? If you're in a coffee shop, for example, others might have the same idea, and you end up running into the same people now and then. It doesn't have to be the same people every time, and that's something I'll get into a little bit. But you are essentially in a water cooler, or the whole notion of working from home is bad because you can't create ideas, and creativity is lost to the separation between people, the remote nature instead of the serendipitous collisions. Have you ever heard that word? The term, I suppose. The serendipitous collisions that happen in a workplace that could bring ideas to the fore, random discussions. Hey, I have an idea that might address the thing you're just talking about, etc. So these things can happen when you are spontaneously discussing or sharing or opining. You may, in fact, have run into the same people time and again, and you say, how's that project coming? And I've done that too. And so you get a sporadic sort of engagement that leads to sort of a personal progress report that can be sort of self-reinforcing, I guess, right? Like, it's always nice to be able to demonstrate that you're getting somewhere when an interested party asks. So that's kind of cool. And when you're doing this, obviously you cannot overshare. You may be not the person you're talking to, but you may be surrounded by those with nefarious intent. They may hear an idea and quickly run off and create the same passion that you have out of thin air and try to execute your idea. More likely, if they do try to steal your idea, and I think that's more rare than people are concerned with. But yeah, if you divulge some sort of thing, it doesn't have to be your invention. It could be a business deal. It could be any sort of discussion item that you didn't intend for just anyone to hear. So you have to be careful with these things, not only for yourself, but for your actual coworkers, your investors, your colleagues that you're starting an endeavor with, or that they're kind of depending on you to not share ideas with random people in coffee shops. So yeah, it could be something to think about. So not that a paid co-work space solves that problem, most definitely not, but it's something to be aware of, that you may or may not know who is sitting next to you wherever you may be co-working. So it's something to think about. I personally have, when I lived in Sunnyvale, California, I have been to the same coffee shop almost every day for periods of time. You end up talking to, if you go there every day, there are people who do not go there every day. Or maybe you don't go there every day. So you have a sort of intersecting orbits now and then. And someone might say, hey, how's the thing you're working on coming? How's the app, the website, the proposal, whatever it is. They will ask because they heard about it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the last time you ran into each other, and you can say, oh, well, I've come along this path, or I've done this. So like I said, that can be self-reinforcing, which is good. You could get some feedback from that. Like, hey, that's cool. Hey, what about this? Hey, have you thought about that? So there's certainly value to extract from that. As long as you're careful about, you don't want to announce your efforts too soon to the broader public. And if someone is listening, or, nowadays they could be totally spying on your Wi-Fi connection, use a VPN or something. You just have to be careful, right? Keep your future under your own control. But the value proposition is still there. The idea and innovation, the next item on my notes, ideation and innovation hub. So the idea is to be able to get that feedback, get that engagement and have these discussions or co-work operations, whatever they may be. It may be, hey, read this. Hey, look at this. Hey, try this out. Give me an idea. Select your favorite of these choices, whatever it is. As well, this is like visiting a gym. If you work out at a gym, you have a workout partner, or maybe you run into the same people at the gym and you kind of encourage each other. Maybe you go riding your bicycle with a group of people. Maybe you play organized or disorganized sports with teams or groups of people. You can draw some motivation and encouragement from these, and you can do the same for them. And you're all kind of focused on the same thing. Now, if you're at the gym, you don't necessarily have to be doing the same exercises, but you encounter the same people. I would say if you go to a gym and you're working on whatever you're doing that day, and someone else that you see all the time is working on something different, you don't have to share machines or weights or exercises. You can have a discussion, or, hey, can you give me a spot? Very similar to the casual, opportunistic co-working I am alluding to here, which is the part of the co-working experience that I am advocating for more of. There can be formal gatherings. You can actually have a scheduled co-working meetup. You can do this with the gym also. You may be having some ideas and innovation thoughts that are not software sitting in a coffee shop with your laptop and your earbuds in, ignoring the world. Maybe it's something to do with food or drink. Maybe it's art. Maybe it's some other science. Maybe you need a lab or a kitchen or a bar or wherever you're doing this. And maybe there are other people around. Maybe you plan to meet at that place and you say, hey, I'm going to try out a new recipe, a new visualization, a new sculpture, whatever it is. It could be anything. It does not have to be. I've started off leaning towards my own background, which is software, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. So you could have these ad hoc, spontaneous meetups. And from that, you never know, a spark that comes unexpectedly could continue to glow, lead to a conflagration that is unstoppable and ideally does not destroy things in its path. But occasionally you may do that for someone else. You may give more than you get on that particular occasion, or vice versa. And we have to consider the long tail in this case. So the ultimate value of co-work among what we could call a heterogeneous project population, that is, you're all not co-workers co-working on a single project, but you happen to be in the same place, like the gym analogy still holds. If you have ever worked with food truck people, probably not. Everybody has their own food truck, but they may use a shared kitchen. And somebody might say, hey, taste this. And someone else might say, oh, that needs more this or less of that. That happens. So there's always an opportunity to get a little feedback from a friendly, sort of like-minded, if you will, population of people who are kind of in it with you, but neither competing nor cooperating, more on a parallel path, if you will. So there's absolutely value in that. These could be out. Pardon me. These interactions could be out in the real world. That's crazy, I know. Sorry, I had to pause for a little cough break. The interactions, the work from home thing, it has caught on for better or worse. I say for better, but there's still something to be said about meeting in the real world, actual, not necessarily physical connection, but proximal connection, the liveliness of a discussion with all of the features of communication, nonverbal, tone, obviously the word choices. So to be able to conduct these co-work sessions in real world, somewhere in the real world, ideally someplace quiet, but not too quiet. Libraries are okay. Super noisy coffee shops or diners with clanging silverware and flatware and so on. These are two ends of a spectrum that are tricky. But if you can have discussions, lively debate perhaps, there is certainly value in that proximal exchange. But these can be online as well. Co-working can take place online. In fact, there is no shortage of online collaboration tools when it comes to document creation and editing. You can share spreadsheets and word processing Do people call it that anymore? Documents. And even whiteboards. You can share a whiteboard. One of my favorites is Excalidraw, which is a great open source project. So you can sketch out ideas and share the whiteboard, or you can have a video call and you can share your screens and you can collaborate that way. You can, something as simple as a group email that has an idea thread going around to all those involved. Those tend to be more insulated. They're more about your co-workers on the project, not your co-workers. Maybe that's what that dash or hyphen is for. People who are not working on the same project as you, you are probably less likely to run into them online. Although, if you plan and if you have some momentum behind online get-togethers, you can certainly pursue online ideation and innovation mixers, mingles. I guess that's what breakout rooms are for. There are various other platforms that turn online engagement into something like rooms, chat rooms. I've seen one that I do not remember the name of it, where you are literally walking a little character from one room to another. There are like virtual tables and things. So you not quite reproduce the experience of being in a physical location, but these are all possibilities that ultimately, and I think this is provable, again, so long as you are not divulging too much, oversharing can be not a good thing. But certainly provable that just the fact that you are talking or interacting or showing and telling or listening and learning about ideas can lead to more ideas, more innovation. Ideation and innovation go hand in hand. And if there is a way to amplify them with feedback loops, perhaps, well, that's not so bad. And that ultimately is how our entrepreneurial ecosystem can become stronger, more healthy, whatever word you'd like to use to indicate that it is a vital thing, fertile perhaps, where ideas and innovation emerge from people like you. So some of this comes from interaction, and not to say there isn't any in the greater Vegas area, but I will reflect on my time when I first moved to Vegas about 10 years ago, 10 years and 5 months ago. When I moved here, the downtown project was just sort of blossoming is the word I usually use. It was just coming into its own, starting to get a lot of attention. And there tended to be more people working on their startups. The entrepreneurial bug is what drew many people to the downtown area, the downtown project. It could be that they were working on a restaurant project. Eat is rather famous for that. It could be that they were just downtown with their laptop working on a website or an application idea. Could be that they were working on their own retail concept or a service business. It could be anything. So people could meet at the restaurants or bars, right? Maybe you would meet at the boozery after you're done for the day, or maybe before, and in the container park, the infamous container park. And later you would watch the boozery become Oak and Ivy, which is also okay. But the nature of the crowd that was drawn to the downtown project tended to be more demonstrative in their ideation. So they would attend more meetups. So they would be more animated about participating proactively in co-work gatherings and whatnot. The user lib, the jellies, various events that would take place along those lines at places like the user lib or at the Gold Spike, which was essentially converted into a giant co-work space with beanbag chairs and beds at one point. So the sort of a fertile playground of ideation and innovation, I think, in my opinion, which I, of course, am expressing here, is made up partially of the notion that I should work from home sometimes, especially on my own startup or an idea that I'm working with others on. But I should also encourage myself and my colleagues and others to get out of the home, wherever that may be, and to interact with other humans and to share ideas now and then within those constraints I've mentioned, and allow that energy, if you will, to invigorate, maybe unstagnate your own ideation process or the processes of others around you. Again, a long tail proposal. You kind of have to look over the horizon. What's in it for me is something you should sort of assume up front. Like, I may not leave this meetup today with all of my problems solved and my future mapped out to unicorn possibilities. But I may help somebody else, and next time they may help me, or the next time after that, or whenever. You never know. Or it could be that you meet someone and your two ideas go together, and you decide, we could collaborate on something that would be mutually beneficial. Or you never know. You don't know because you don't know. And so the value proposition is not one you can map out directly. You cannot make a presentation with specifics on the value, which is not what I'm trying to do here, by the way. The value of co-working. If you're WeWork, just like McDonald's, you're talking about real estate, not collaboration outcomes nor Happy Meals, right? You're looking at real estate, profits, long-term profitability, etc. But from a co-worker standpoint, the value proposition is the possibilities that come from engagement in person, or to a, I think, slightly lesser extent, often online, certainly not only with people you work with directly on your project, but others working on different projects, orthogonal co-workers, perhaps. So when I say we need more co-working, the Greater Vegas area did have this. Again, the downtown project, I believe, and it's something I hope we can show with our still coming downtown project retrospective. When one person is working on things, you know what they say, I'm not working on it right now because I'm recording this audio program. So a lot of things to do. A solid survey engine is on the table to make sure that we can capture data in a usable way, and then it will map to introspection data. But either way, the idea is what was working there to have so many people entrepreneurial in focus or energy or desire. So many people physically moved, relocated themselves to be proximal to others with a similar level of encouragement and desire, perhaps. So how do you take that, the pluses, the things that did work from that arrangement, and take a good look at our current entrepreneurial ecosystem and see where we can extract those wins, if there were wins, and inject them into the present. And perhaps a Greater Vegas entrepreneurial ecosystem will thrive as a result. And we can look at energized co-work environments as part of the what I could call a nutritional benefit for all of us. That is, it will feed, and in fact, perhaps feedback outcomes, right? Feedback on outcomes, positive on the output can be fed back into the input, and it escapes to infinity. So we are not off in the corner on our own. That would be useful to know. I will say for a fact that the Greater Vegas area does have a legitimate population of entrepreneurs. They are not necessarily building the next unicorn. I think that's what some people would like to believe. We are not going to be the next Silicon Valley, but possibly because of the transient nature of the Greater Vegas area. A lot of people are not from here. I myself am not. As I've already said, I've lived here for 10 years, August 1st. So it's 10 years and 4.5 months, I guess. So I've lived here for 10 years. Before that, I was in Silicon Valley. Before that, I was in Los Angeles area going to college. Before that, I was in Phoenix, etc. So we come here from different places. We have different vantage points, different backgrounds. So part of the possibility being entrepreneurial here is to have that mixture of ideas and interactions. When we can actually interact with the people doing that, we can remind ourselves that even though all, and I do mean all, of the attention is on our fun economy, trademark pending, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Economic Development Office. Fun economy, crime, and politics. Those are two different things. Attention is on those more so than nearly all entrepreneurial and small business endeavors, save restaurant and bar openings, which do get a good attention here, which is fine. That's great. But we actually need a feedback loop of our own that says, oh, yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. We need an attention feedback loop so that we, maybe one day you're like, I don't know if I'm on the right track here. I don't know if this is going to work. I've been working from home this whole time. My colleagues are in other cities or other states. I could go to a coffee shop downtown and I'm surrounded by noise and people with their earbuds or other headphone listening devices. doing their own thing. They're not really collaborating or ideating. They're not having a chit chat. You can go to a place like Desert Wind Coffee Roasters, where we did actually have a remote little podcast segment a couple months ago now, where people go literally to have a chat. It's much more of a living room setting, and people actually just share ideas and have discussions and have various recurring meetups and so on. So you can go out and encounter these people, but more importantly, you can be reassured that there are other people doing interesting and entrepreneurial things, and that you are not sitting at home staring at your computer or staring at a blank canvas of any kind, an empty frying pan, whatever you're doing, whatever your innovation goals are. It's good to get out. And hey, if you're working on an innovation menu for a new restaurant concept and you want to go to a coffee shop and talk to somebody who is building a piece of software, you may come up with some idea as a result of that. Who knows? You never know. You definitely don't know if you sit home looking at that blank canvas or empty frying pan or empty text editor window and you don't discover that there are other people with the same ideas, not the same exact ones, the same ideas about being innovative and executing, if you don't just go and do a little co-working. So I'm encouraging that. Just grossly speaking, it's always good, just like going to the gym, to see that other people are doing this as well. You don't have to sit home and say, I'll go tomorrow. Been there, done that as well. So as more people in our entrepreneurial ecosystem, or as I like to say, of the greater Vegas area, our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, which needs a lot of help, as more people become aware, whether they are actively participating, if they're entrepreneurial or working on some form of innovation around some idea, they may just be living here and a day job, doing their thing. Maybe they'll actually become interested in taking it. Hey, you know what? I had this idea. So if there are more people aware that our ecosystem does exist, then it's possible that there will be more feedback loops, more advancing of respective causes, and it may then become easier to be discovered so that more people will know that you are even working on the thing you're working on. I didn't know somebody was working on that. You will hear very often. When people are responsible for all of their own press and they must post 5 times a day on LinkedIn, or no one will have any idea about them or what they're doing or why they're doing it, and still nobody sees it anyway, you can get lost in the shuffle. You can get lost in your own head if you're not careful. So as more people become visible, hey, you know what? There will be visibility to others when they say, oh, what's that table of 5 people last week? Now it's 10 people this week. What's going on over there? Oh, that's our local entrepreneurial cohort of people working on new restaurant ideas, right? Or whatever. Could be anything. So to be visible, to be even audible to the crowd, the communities. I don't like the word community. It's thrown around too easily. But the population of those who live near and far in the greater Vegas area or who are visiting, and that's even more interesting. People who visit the greater Vegas area are more than aware of the fun economy because it gets all the attention. I'm, you know what? I might do this one of these days. I'm going to walk around on the Strip because it's the place where people go. It's what people associate with Las Vegas. In my travels for Intel many years ago, I would be in cities all over. And if you say Las Vegas, they would have no idea why, what's going on about it. Isn't it just gambling and drinking? And let's hope not. Unless you're in the bar or restaurant business, then sure. But to be included in our various globally visible events by making an appearance or getting a mention or being maybe brought in to a sponsored venue. If you have been to the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, just recently, last week, took place here in January 2024. The Eureka Park is an entire space in the Venetian Expo, formerly Sands Expo, dedicated to startups. And what ends up happening, first of all, they overflowed into the floor above. So a couple of countries were represented there. What happens is a local country or school or business entity, one of my favorites is Enterprise Ireland. They support and enable entrepreneurial ventures from or by Irish people all over the place. I think I've I haven't checked lately. The population of Ireland is like 4 million. The population of people who claim to be Irish is like 50 or 60 million. So if you can harness that energy, and other countries do that too in places around the world, if you are looking to open an ethnic restaurant, your government from whence you came to move to a place like America or anywhere might have funding for that. It helps with the visibility of a particular country. So in the CES Eureka Park case, various countries, South Korea probably most visibly, sponsors these pavilions where a startup might have a podium with their branding and a backdrop and some graphics, or they may have some screen time on a shared screen, a stage perhaps to make presentations. Generally, they would probably not have the funds to be at a show like CES, but for this encouragement and promotion and most importantly, perhaps funding, sponsorship of this presence. So what I noticed this year was there was no Southern Nevada pavilion, square of land in the Eureka Park where the local, I keep hearing about the startup scene and we're going to be the next Silicon Valley, but it doesn't seem like any money is being put where what is it? Put my money where my mouth is? Is that how that goes? Let's see some showcasing. Let's see some engagement with all these, 40 million people coming to the greater Vegas area. So the way you can get this ball rolling is to have more people out and about, talking about, showing, telling, collaborating loosely, right? Obviously, you don't want to enlist the person at a coffee shop or library to do work, especially uncompensated, on your project. Or if you're working on open source stuff like Innovate for Vegas Foundation, you certainly want to get attribution at least, but be a part of a successful project ongoing. But as those things start to happen, we may actually get some sort of critical mass of entrepreneurial individuals and groups who might together say something like, hey, why isn't there a Greater Vegas or Southern Nevada plot of land at Eureka Park in CES 2025 to feature the various entrepreneurial adventures going on right here? And yes, CES leans heavily towards consumer electronics, but I've seen a variety of places from other countries that are not necessarily building a tech solution per se, but they're building something that uses tech. If you open a restaurant, you're using a point of sale terminal. That's tech right there. So you're already in. I have another idea I've proposed to UNLV Office of Economic Development. It will go nowhere because of to whom I have proposed this idea, but the idea is sound. It's something we'll talk about in the coming weeks as I figure out how we can arrange for the thing I am proposing. And then once we start doing this, we can re-examine how it is we are feeding our own ecosystem to enable all these entrepreneurial capabilities that are part of our state government's effort to make this the most entrepreneurial state in the world or the country, one of those. As a top 5, arguably number 1 destination city brand, people come to Vegas. So they come to Vegas mostly for the fun economy, but certainly they come here for one of the pillars of the fun economy, trade shows and conventions. When they come here for SEMA, NKBA's Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, the construction show, the concrete show, the various rodeo gun shows, Consumer Electronics Show, and National Association of Broadcasters. The list goes on and on. Maybe they're here for Formula One racing to destroy our local small business economy. Maybe they're here for who knows why. But they should be aware that while they're in town, they can actually check out some crazy ideas by the people who call the Greater Vegas area home. Something to think about. In fact, part of the Cafe Genius mission for 2024 is to encourage more of thinking about things like this in person. So look for some co-work calendaring, I guess, as we start to hopefully promote the notion that you can and should not only get out of your headspace in your work from home enclave, but you should also get out and about and run into other people, not necessarily working on similar things as you. Maybe they're not software. Maybe they're not working on the next business plan or service industry service business concept. Maybe they're from the service industry. Maybe they're opening a restaurant. Maybe they're starting a food truck. Maybe they're opening a retail location. Maybe they are doing something you've never thought about before. And those are the most interesting things, right? They need to get out and about, be seen, not necessarily divulging their intellectual property, but certainly let the world around us know that there's more going on here than tearing up roads and destroying small business. And that is where I will leave it today. But again, as the cafegenius.org website gets some attention, some love and attention, I have multiple projects, as you can see on the buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo profile page. There are multiple projects with multiple media components and moving parts and projects and so on. Getting more people aware of just what I'm working on is a little prototype. Getting more people aware of what you are working on is your prototype. And if we have the facilities here to turn prototypes into tangible things, anything is possible. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. Make sure you tell everyone you know to listen to my audio programs. Not because I get rich by doing this, but because a part of the plan is to have more people engaging more people about more things that are not negative. So positively possibilities. We just have to get out of our houses, out of our heads, go have a coffee. There you go. Buy me a coffee if you want, but you don't have to. Take it easy.